Welcome to Cloud and Clear, the podcast by SADA for innovative business leaders and technology enthusiasts, where we explore how Google Cloud is transforming the industry and what that means to you. Now, here's your host, Tony Safoian.
Super excited today to have the incomparable, my very special guest right here in Austin. We're doing this again live on location, which I love. And my special guest today is Jennifer Chason, Director for Google Cloud in the Western States and Southern California.
That's right. Thank you.
Little tiny territory.
Just a small territory.
Western states.
Few states. I can just about spell them all.
Yeah, we just wrapped doing our event out here for Formula One. I think it was very, very invigorating.
Yep.
It's not usual for us to do weekend events, but this is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's great to just have customers in a different environment and just to see the connectivity between Google and you guys and the customers, just kind of like the trifecta. Together in a fun environment, in a great way that people feel that they can just have some great conversation, give us some feedback.
One team. That's right. Great customer experience.
Yeah.
That's what we aim for. This is a great model. We should totally do this in the Western States and in SoCal.
Yeah, my brain is already whirring as to where we're going to do the next locations and the fun stuff that we can do around it as well.
We have an awesome new office in Seattle.
Yeah.
It could be a good destination.
We have a great space there right on South Lake Union. So It's got some pretty incredible views as well.
An amazing office in LA.
Yeah. Spruce Goose. I didn't even know what the Spruce Goose was until I joined Google.
Howard Hughes, beautiful building.
Yeah.
And in typical Google fashion, I think the core architecture has been retained as you guys have modernized the space to completely new use.
I've learned whenever I'm in that office to not wear heels because it's quite a long distance between all the different meeting rooms.
It's an airplane hangar.
And it's an airplane hangar,
For the largest plane ever built.
Yeah, that's
no big deal. Well, it's really great to have you here. I know that we connected almost immediately as you joined. As I tend to do, I tend to reach out to the new executives who join the organization. I feel like, we've been on this journey with Google for 12 plus years, and now I have so many more people to work with that are coming from other places in the enterprise that have done this before. Yeah,
you must have just seen ridiculous growth. I mean, we feel it at Google, but you've been with us on that journey for so long, so.
Yeah, now if I look at our numbers, it's literally been 60% CAGR for like 19 years straight. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. And I don't feel like it's going to slow down.
Hopefully not. That's why I joined. That's why we call it the rocket ship.
Well, let's talk about that, decision to join. I think you're part of this, what I call the new generation of leaders that have come on board, in and around Thomas Kurian and Rob Enslin coming on board. Yeah. And so I'm sure that's not an easy decision.
No, it was a hard decision. I spent a long time at Microsoft and just had a great time, great people. And Microsoft as a company are incredible. I mean, the way that they innovate and the things that they're doing for the greater good. I mean, incredible company. But for me, it was more of a personal decision about how I think about my career, how I think about my own personal growth. And I'm someone that likes to be challenged. And I'm someone that really likes to be outside of my comfort zone. Because for me, that's the only way that I learn. And so I started to realize that I was craving that. And I was also very intrigued by what Google were doing, because obviously I came across them in many different scenarios. And I saw people like Thomas Kurian, learned more about him and his background. With Rob Enslin coming on, just seeing all of these people join, and you get to a point saying, well, they're not probably all wrong, and they know something that I don't know. But I was always impressed by Google's ability to innovate. But the thing that really got me to focus on Google as the next step in my own journey was just their culture. I mean, I am culture first and foremost. I love people. I love leading teams. I love coaching, I love mentoring, and ultimately, in order to be able to do all of that, you've got to be in a culture that allows you to collaborate and across boundaries. And I think because of where we are in the market right now, there is such this surge in energy for growth. We're all running in the same direction, and we have lots of different organizations that are supporting us. but it just feels very genuine and very authentic in terms of how we want to grow our market. Yeah. We have a ton of humility. We've got tons of growth, tons of opportunity, but we haven't figured it all out right now. And I think that's why you see both the external focus, but also we've got just a ton of amazing people who've been at Google for a long time. And so our ability to leverage their expertise of growing up in Google, of seeing some of our other businesses on the consumer side growing and the success that we've had, and then being able to apply that to cloud. So really bringing all these different types of people together. It's really exciting to be a part of. Yeah. And I'm always, my husband will tell you this, I deeply suffer from FOMO. And so when I thought about, okay, at some point, I need to go and do something else somewhere else. I need to prove to myself that the capability I have isn't just because I know everybody.
Right.
And I know how to get things done. Right. So I wanted to prove to myself, but also I wanted to do it at a time where I could also bring some expertise and some skills and some experience to help to be part of the build. Yes. Everybody that joins Google, they join because at heart, we're all builders, right. Whether it's building products or it's building teams, building a culture. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to do in Western States and SoCal, is build our culture and really drive kind of deep cross collaboration amongst all of my teams. Mm-hmm. Actually getting one of my FSRs in the healthcare team in Colorado to work with my healthcare, guy and girl in Seattle and Los Angeles. It's very easy to get very focused in just your own territory. And so trying to just open up some of those channels of communication, but it's really good fun.
You're really in a unique position, as a lot of the new leaders are, to be such a big contributing factor to the culture moving forward. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons for that is you're actually tasked with building a massive new team.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going to happen to your headcount in the next months?
Well, I think Thomas Kurian and we haven't been shy about talking about our expected growth. Double, triple. And so when you start to think about that, you have to take a step back, because at the end of the day, I want to build such a strong foundation to create an organization that growth should be easy, whether it's adding headcount, adding more customers. I want to grow in a way that gives everybody the opportunity to succeed. And when you think about the kind of geography that I cover, there's a lot of different things to think about. And every market is different. Yes. I joke with my colleagues in San Francisco and the Bay, the types of conversations I'm having with my customers are probably night and day from the kinds of conversations they're having with their customers. Yeah. I just found myself recently having a discussion with a CIO in Colorado about how do we think about transforming their business and their own paper mills.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different conversation. And you think about, I live in Seattle, and so I'm competing against all of my buddies at Microsoft and Amazon. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. There's so much business for all of us. But then I have to think about, how do I build that business in the Pacific Northwest? Yeah. And then you think about Southern California, geographically a huge market, but with some very distinct industries. Mm-hmm. So you have to think about geo, you have to think about industry, but first and foremost, you have to think about customer, and you have to think about your employees. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that we build as strong a business as possible that puts the customer at the center, and that has always got to be our focus. But I also want it, again, to enable my people to be great, to be successful, and retaining and attracting talent is something that I'm very passionate about. And I think so if you build a structure that can continue to grow and can continue to evolve as well, as we learn, that's the goal. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the things that I love doing, building these kinds of teams out and getting the right DNA of people. That's the other thing. You got to be
the right combination.
Yeah, you got to be thoughtful about it. You've got to balance out your leaders. Yeah. And then you have to balance out the different personalities. And you have to think about it. These people, this is their career as well. Mm-hmm. So making sure that we're setting them up for success and not failure.
I've learned recently the difference between culture fit and culture add.
Yeah. Yeah.
People used to say culture fit all the time, and I used to say culture fit all the time. But then, more evolved thinking says that you actually don't want to hire people that are identical.
Correct. Yeah.
The culture add is this idea that You want people that have, core values in common. Fundamental core values of wanting to win, customers first, being easy to work with, all those things, but having the right vision.
Yeah.
But you want people to be additive.
Well, I mean, diversity is everything. In all aspects of life. But I think for us as well, we're going to look different in 6 months and 12 months and 2 years. Hopefully not completely different, because you also have to have some period of stability where people can learn. But we also have to think about, what does tomorrow look like? And are we hiring the people today that we need tomorrow? And so when I think about recruiting people, I actually look at it very broadly, and I'm really I'm intrigued to bring in people that have got different types of experience. And again, I also now am very focused internally looking at different experiences. We've got some people who are over on Google Ads or Google Maps, and Learning Cloud is something that isn't insignificant, but at the same time, some core skill sets that people have around building relationships, building businesses, knowing how to go have a discussion. There are some things that just can't be learned.
Right.
It's just, it's ingrained in your soul. And so again, I'm really focusing on building as diverse a team as possible and leveraging, different experiences that people can bring.
So as you're making decisions around, let's just talk about managers for a minute. What are the attributes that really stand out to you in a leader you would hire, who then would have a team of FSRs, like a Meg Tucker, right? In those roles, like what are the attributes? What are the qualities? Like sometimes, I interviewed a lot of people as well, and sometimes it's the intangibles. But how do you turn that into something that would produce a high degree of success?
Yeah. So I think there's a few different kind of personality traits that I am attracted to, and it doesn't mean it's the same type of person, but first of all, just, boundless energy. And Meg is one of them. There's just a ton of energy and drive, because I think about it as we've got people, the Energizer Bunny, and you want that energy to be infectious, because what we do is hard, and we all work incredibly hard.
Yes.
And that's true of everybody. And so having someone who's truly energetic and passionate about their craft, about what they want to do, that's really important to me. Authenticity is really high up for me. There are different types and styles of leaders, but I believe that authenticity is really a trait that makes a huge difference in every conversation we have, whether it's internally or externally, with partners, with customers. And then people also that want to have a lot of fun, but can have tough conversations. And that's not, it's a hard balance, because again, we have a lot to do and we're going to grow aggressively, but that means we need to run our businesses very effectively.
That's right.
And again, we have to learn to do that as Google Cloud. And so again, bringing that energy level, that fun of everything we do is going to be great, but at the same time, our results speak for themselves.
Especially in sales. Yeah. So it's kind of those are the kinds of things that I certainly look for. But I'm also someone, I want to take risks on people. Someone took a risk on me back in the day when I moved from being an individual contributor and went into a manager role. Yeah.
And so I'm also, when I think about people coming into manager roles, I'm also looking to people that have been in individual roles, but I believe have got the skills and the capability. And I think the biggest thing for me is inclusivity. We cannot have an ego as we build these. So we have to have a very inclusive approach, which is about the greater good of the team and not the individual.
Yeah.
Because we can't do it alone, apart from everything else.
No, I think it's a very difficult balance in sales. You have certain sellers who are fantastic individual contributors, they're rainmakers. The challenge with them is, how do you get them to think even before they have a leadership role? And maybe a leadership role is never right for them. It just doesn't end up ever being right for them. They don't want it, right? But how do you get them to think about the greater good of the territory or the segment or Google Cloud or the brand? And it's in an industry that has traditionally been very coin operated in sales. I think that's one of the toughest things to balance, but I think part of the Google ethos kind of requires that.
Yes.
To some extent.
Yeah.
You want to balance it.
You've got to balance it. I mean, a big demand that we have right now for our leaders, and I think that's why they all want to be leaders at Google, is because I need them to be the player coach. Mm-hmm. I want them in the customers. I want shared accountability between them and the rep. And I include myself in that as well. Sure. We kind of divide and conquer about how we, what levels of interaction we have with different customers. But I want people that are going to jump in with 2 feet, because it's the only way you can do it at Google. And I want people that are happy in that environment. Gone are the days where we have managers who are just sitting behind, spreadsheets, managing the business from that point.
That wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And the exciting thing about having these sales manager roles at Google is it's just so much fun being in front of a customer. Mm. It's fun hearing the feedback. It's fun taking that feedback and then figuring out how can we impact change. And every single one of my leaders is fully empowered to impact that change, not only for their own organization, as they think about growing their region, but across these different organizations as well.
I'm a big fan of all the technology we use, but there's nothing like getting in front of a customer or peer or partner, especially customers.
Yeah.
I don't recall a time where I went and met with a customer and didn't learn something.
Yeah. Yeah. And for we're onboarding a lot of people right now. And I just talked to one of my new leaders the other day, and he's like, okay, where do I even start, Jen? I'm like, all right, just go talk to your customers.
Yeah.
Just go talk to your customers.
As many as you can.
As many as you can. Go to cloud space, listen and learn, and just completely envelop yourself in that, because that will then help you understand where you need to spend your time getting up to speed and getting ready. Because there's not enough hours in the day. But my experience so far with customers has been fantastic, meaning very, very open. They really appreciate the attention that we give them. They give us a lot of constructive feedback as well, which is always appreciated.
I think they're tough but fair.
Yeah, I think they absolutely are. And, most of them, they genuinely want to see us succeed, because if we can succeed, it will help them succeed.
That's right.
So it really does feel more like a partnership approach than some of the experience I've had before.
And I think they want to live in a world that has choices and options and healthy competition.
That's right.
They want Google Cloud to do well because they like the choice.
Yeah. And we talked about this earlier today with our customers. The competition is great because it makes us all better.
Yeah.
We all bring something unique to the market. We all do have a kind of a slightly different proposition, and it's a big market out there. So, again, competition is good and it's healthy.
I always say this, there's not even enough people, Google plus all of its partners, to really fulfill the entirety of the demand that exists today or 10 years from now. Like, there's so much demand. And I think competition certainly makes Google better and the others.
Yeah.
They all have to change and pivot and learn from each other. We look at our, I call worthy rivals in the same way in the partner ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like, I actually need them to be successful because, it makes sort of a high tide lifts all boats kind of scenario. But it is a remarkably different thing. As I see all the new leaders coming in, they're coming in from Salesforce, Amazon, Microsoft, SAP, Oracle. They're coming from market-leading positions.
Yeah.
They're coming from positions where they're the default.
Yeah.
They go to, they've owned a certain space for a very, very long time. And they're all choosing to come here where you're number 3.
Yeah.
Seems like a daunting task. It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not for the faint of heart. But the common denominator in all of those people that you just described and more, it's grit. Like, we all have grit. We all work hard. We come to work every day. We're away from our families and from our friends. So working in this kind of environment where it's a big challenge every day. Some people love that, and some people like more of the predictability.
Yeah.
They like more of the, they want to go to a well-oiled machine. Think AWS. Very, very well-oiled machine, knows how to execute in the enterprise space. And some people inherently love the predictability of that while it's still challenging. So yes, Google does attract just a certain type of mindset. And so it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I definitely, I've got some great friends and colleagues who, when I think about them and here at Google, I'm like, maybe come in 2 years' time. because we haven't got everything figured out right now. We're still working through things. We're maturing as an organization. There's some great leaders that are working on that. But, the grass isn't always greener. It's just, you just have to be honest about the types of problems and challenges that you want to tackle. But, again, it's great seeing all of the people coming in. I've learned so much from some of my leaders who are from Oracle. I've got a phenomenal leader down in San Diego, Jim. He came in from Salesforce. I have Trevor up in Phoenix. He just came in from Oracle and he was at Microsoft previously. I've got Ricardo in the Pacific Northwest. He was at Microsoft and we used to work, together a long time ago. And Lissa in Colorado. Each one of my leaders has a completely different background, has a completely different set of experiences. And it's a very flat organization. So we're just all one team, which is really cool. It's fun.
So what's the one thing that surprised you in a customer visit that you've been completely surprised by what you hear or what they say?
I think the biggest surprise for me has been, I used to get a lot of feedback from customers in my old world. And it was pretty consistent in terms of customers were really wowed by Google's ability to innovate and our technology stack. But we weren't ready. When we think about supporting them from an enterprise perspective, I've spent a lot of time in the last 4 months on the road, which is why I sound like this, working, talking to customers and meeting with them and just asking, like, how's things going? How has your journey been? And it's fair to say the journey was a little rough quite early on for lots of good reasons. But for the customers that have stuck with us and wanted to grow, the feedback that I now get is you're ready. You're ready now. And that's great. I still think we actually can be more ready. But that's been refreshing because now what that means is customers are putting their trust in us. And that's all we want. We want them to trust us, to at least give us an opportunity to see how we can support them in this much more open world where multi-cloud is going to be prevalent. But how can Google support what they want to do? We say, we'll support you. We'll be there when you need us. We'll show up how you need us. And we'll be your partner. And so it was more of a pleasant surprise that customers now have the confidence that we're in a much better position. So for me, selfishly joining at this time, that's great. That's good. It means that my life is a little bit easier, and I don't have to hard sell. On that side of it. And now it's about really focusing on relationships and building that foundation of trust.
When people within Google or people like we're selling with or delivering with express some level of frustration with any aspect of what's going on today, like all these changes, I'm like, you weren't there 5 years ago. Things have gotten so much better, so much more fluid, so much enterprise class. Of course, there's room for improvement, but difference now, and I truly believe it comes top down, is that right now Google's full of people, whether it's in sales or support or legal or contracting or pricing or any PSO, any of the parts of the organization. The orientation now, I think, comes from a basis of maybe confidence, but also a desire to win.
Yes.
Like if something requires, 15 manual steps because things aren't perfect yet, they're all rolling up their sleeves and doing it now. Before I was like, that's too hard. Oh, we can't get this person on the phone. I think it's a very, very different just mindset, this growth mindset.
Mindset is a great word, actually. It's we're facing, as you said, we're facing hard problems every day, but we laugh about it. And the funny thing is that in Google Cloud, everyone's new. Either they've come externally, they've come over from a different part of Google. We're not that old. And so we're all going through this together. We all have the same challenges. But at the same time, when all you're going to do is grow and get bigger and get better, it's fine. It's all good. And the great news is that our leadership are so open to feedback. And I've been really impressed since I've come on board in terms of their ability to ask for the feedback, truly listen to the feedback, because we don't always do that. Sometimes we ask and then we close our ears down. Listening to the feedback, taking action, putting together the right teams that can go resolve, and communicating that. They're all very simple things, but sometimes it's hard for big companies to do that. And sometimes when you're in the field, especially, you feel that you're giving a lot of feedback to corporate, And then there's never a feedback loop. And so some of the things that I've seen have come on board. But yeah, there's just this great mindset. There's no whining. You know, we all have long days, and sometimes it's like, really? Are we actually going to do this? Okay. But there's just this, we're all on board. Yeah. I forget what we called for it. It was one of our, it's kind of around disagree but support. Right? We don't agree with every decision that's made, but we're going to support it because that's our culture, and we are on Google.
Yeah.
So.
I met with Brian and Jeff, your peers in Bay Area and San Francisco. And, these startups, tech natives, it's great that they use it because it validates the technology and pushes the technology to its limits. Mm-hmm. Like if you can support Twitter, you can support Airbnb, you can support, even like Zulily and some of those others, like that's who's going to push the technology early on.
Yeah.
But for it to be sort of a mass market, 50, 60, $100 billion entity at some point, the traditional enterprise has to be won over. What do you think is the impact for your business in this new orientation for Google and sort of regional, in-market, on the field, regional decision-making? How do you think that's going to impact your business?
I think it's going to be huge. Customers crave that. Customers want that local touch. They want to feel that they've got a support structure within their regions. Customers love talking to each other as well. So really, when I think about my organization and how do we build an enterprise, we're creating new markets. And we're figuring out a way how to kind of get that connective tissue going between our partner ecosystem, between our customers, and we're looking for that multiplier effect as well. And so we're trying to be very thoughtful, especially as we think about 2020. Who are the key customers, key influencers in each of these different geographies that other customers are really going to take notice of? Because that's where it becomes really powerful. What are some of the common challenges we see either within an industry or a geography? How can we approach that? Mm-hmm. So I just think having that feedback mechanism, I think having empowerment for us locally is super important. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to be very agile for our customers. And the thing that customers hate the most is when they get consumed by internal machinations, internal process. Yeah. So our ability as Google to be mature in how we deliver, whether it's pricing, whether it's contracts, all of the different things that have to happen.
Totally.
Being able to do that in a very short frame of time, which is very customer centric, and ultimately allows us as partners to focus on solving their business problems. Mm-hmm. Like that's really where we want to get to. So, marketing plays a huge part in this. Our marketing support that we have in the West region is incredible, especially as we are breaking into new markets is Google Cloud, or to new geographies is Google Cloud. Leveraging the partner ecosystem. Like, we're not going to do this on our own, and actually we don't want to. Like, we want to embrace. And so there's just, when I think about the customer at the center, there's probably 15 or 20 things that I'm building and we're building to surround ourselves with to help us be successful. Yeah. And I'm pushing hard to the folks in Sunnyvale that as we continue to grow, we need to hire people in the regions. For sure. We don't want this to be a very corporate centric, organization.
Sure. I think Kirsten Cliphouse would agree with that. Janet Kennedy would agree with that. I think it's definitely, you can see TK making more, global leadership hires, starting that on even a global level. Yeah. You can see, even in Japan, APAC, and like it's all gonna go in that direction. I think that's great because ultimately people want to buy and be serviced from people that are in market. That's right. You can see every day that they're part of the community. Megan and I talked a lot about community building. I think a lot of it is that. It's
huge. Like, so for example, Salt Lake City is potentially one of the fastest growing regions, not actually for Google as a region itself. There's a lot of technology companies in Salt Lake City. And so the folks that, I have in that team over there, they've been in Salt Lake for 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very incestuous. People know each other. Sure. The customers go from one organization to another. So being able to leverage that as well. And that's why, again, coming back to diversity, the kind of folks that we'll hire in Utah, as an example, will be very different to your typical seller in San Francisco. For sure. Or Silicon Valley. And so I think us people in this team. That's going to be really important.
I'm taking notes on where my next office is. I got Phoenix, Orange County, Salt Lake City.
Phoenix is another one. I mean, Phoenix is a great market.
Yeah.
It's got some really big customers are headquartered there. And Phoenix is a fun market who are really trying to accelerate how they think about, I hate saying this, but their own digital transformation.
Yeah.
Most overused phrase in technology today.
Well, State of Arizona is our client.
Right.
And we, started their journey with G Suite and now are doing some work on GCP with the great public sector team there. So we certainly have been there a lot now and are hiring in that geography. So it's good to hear that there's a lot of enterprise activity there too. And I think it's not like direct influence, but if you're in a market where like the state has gone Google,
it helps.
Something to be there. The state has shut down all of its data centers. That's like a big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a good, like if public sector can do it, and they're supposed to be the slow ones.
Right. Exactly. It's a good leading indicator.
Very good.
I would say. Yeah.
So product wise, I think it's so interesting that Google Cloud has multiple entry points to clients. And, a customer's journey can start anywhere.
Yeah.
And even within Google Cloud, there's so many things you can start with that aren't all about replacing, rip and replace or migrate like one-to-one. And I feel like that's a really exciting thing because we can meet the customer where they are.
Yeah.
So from a roadmap standpoint, like what do you see are the things that are differentiated for Google now that is a sort of an easy entry point for an enterprise customer?
I mean, I think about, BigQuery, obviously. When we think about our approach to data lakes and how we think about data, we're a data company at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think, that is one that we already have a lot of traction with. But, when I talk to customers, and then you think about the potential closing of the acquisition of Looker, think about the ability to actually think about analytics and actually bringing these things together. The Vision APIs, I've seen them. We've got an amazingly talented group of people in our customer engineering team. And actually one of our guys in Phoenix, he built out some amazing demos using our Vision APIs. And I think that's going to be, it's just game changing.
For sure.
In terms of how people think.
We have a project on the table, one of the social networks, that they want to use Vision API to try to identify fake profile photos.
Interesting.
That's an interesting.
Yeah. And I think what's really exciting with Vision API is you start to talk to some very traditional customers and try to help them understand what that could do for them. It's kind of like, there are some services that, you can make you giddy. It's just like, this is just so damn cool. And with Vision API, you see the light bulb go on and you see some of these customers in C-suite now start to think about business transformation.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to be talking about. Yeah. That's what's really exciting. And then Kubernetes, obviously, just the history there.
I agree. Like, where else would you want to run Kubernetes?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with Anthos, it was actually one of the things that I researched about Google before I joined. And I remember thinking to myself, I watched TK announce Anthos next. I was watching it on YouTube, and I remember thinking to myself, damn, I hope this thing's real.
Yeah.
I hope this isn't smoke and mirrors because you know what? This is really powerful. Yeah. But it was also indicative of how we think about open.
How Google thinks
about open and truly embracing that for customers in its own unique way. So I just think we have a richness. We have a richness of platform, of applications. One of the things that we have a great opportunity to do is we talk about one Google. How can we truly bring all of the different assets of Google together in a way that makes sense for a customer? And Google's a big company. Yeah. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's something that we all want to do. And I'm actually seeing a lot of that recognition from the other product groups and other product areas.
Sure. No, I've been in a couple instances now where Google Cloud has been pulled into an ads QBR with like a massive customer. And it's, 8 hours of ads and other content and an hour and a half or 2 hours of cloud, which, by the way, before we used to not get it all, right? We used to not even get invited.
We did not have a seat at that table.
Now we do, and it's with pleasure. And actually, they ask us, they want us to be there because customers want us to be there. And I'll tell you, from my view, of course, I'm a little biased, but I saw the executive team be the most engaged during the cloud portion of that QBR.
Yeah.
They seem excited.
Well, also just think about the opportunities to learn. For all of us in Google Cloud to go learn about what does the ad business really look like and how do we think about maps? And then conversely for them, as an individual and as people who like to learn, there's just tons of opportunity that presents as well. But ultimately, again, being super customer focused, putting the customer at the center, how can we really bring the best of Google to them every single day? Yeah. And how do we become their partner, not just for the short term, but for the longer term? How do we become part of their fabric?
Yes.
Those are the kinds of things that we're constantly thinking about. And I think that's why we show up in the way that we do, because we genuinely want to get to that point. We want to build those relationships and we want to build that trust. And given where we're at in the market, we're having to work really, really hard to get that. I mean, it's not a given, so we don't have that luxury. Yeah. But I think that, again, go back to the competitive element, that makes us work even harder and it makes us be even more competitive and it makes us be more gritty. And you can also see the impact of your work. And that's, rewarding to go home every day and think, okay, I impacted something or someone. That's pretty cool.
I think TK and Rob and Hamadou and just the new leadership have been very direct about how the healthy partner ecosystem is very important to the success of Google Cloud and for enterprise adoption and acceptance. And there's different types of partners. They talk about the GSIs are very important, and I agree with that. They talk about the technology infrastructure partners, whether it's Cisco, Dell, HP being really important, Palo Alto, and NetApp, all the open source. Yeah. They're very big on open source being a great partner. You should be able to run MongoDB anywhere, those kind of things on Google's platforms. And then there's, partners like us as well who sell, deliver support. But as you plan your execution strategy for 2020 and beyond, and this is a podcast we're sharing with the broader market and everybody's listening, and it's a great audience to have.
I'm trying not to give away any state secrets.
No, you're doing well so far. What do you look for in your partner strategy? Like, what's important to you?
So what's important to me is trust is the most important thing. I never feel like we own the customer. The customer is a customer. And so building trusted relationships with partners and being respectful of the relationships that they have, the relationships that you bring, the impact that you're having, the fact that you're a trusted advisor. I want partners in every single one of my opportunities because I want that partner to be a trusted advisor to the customer. I want a partner who's going to hold me accountable and hold us accountable. But then I also want partners who are going to go out there and create that energy for themselves. And that's really important because for us, partners extend our small teams. Even if we have big teams, they're never going to be big enough for the demand. And so having a partner that brings a point of view, I'd say having a partner that will hold us accountable, but ultimately having a partner that we've just got implicit trust that it could be one of your sales reps showing up to a customer or one of mine. And we know that we're both going to deliver and represent each other in the best way possible. Yeah. And I think that we again, from a regional perspective, we need a healthy ecosystem because as you outlined, there's all these different types of partners. And so having partners that play well in the sandbox is really important as well, because customers, they may also have a very a point of view on who they want to work with.
And certain partners are great at this, other partners are great at that.
Yeah, it's really about co-investing. We want to be able to invest in our partners, and we want you to invest in us, because then it's shared risk, shared reward. And again, similar to our teams, we're all marching in the same direction. I mean, you guys are so unique because you are now 100% focused and committed on Google
We burn
Cloud.
the ships at the harbor.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's amazing, but it makes our engagement model with you is so much easier, so much more smooth, because it's not something that we worry about.
That was the intent. I mean, we always had, sort of firewall teams and dedicated teams, but now even, the energy, you talk about energy management, the executive team being completely focused on just one key partnership, still multiple products and specialties and all of those things which you need to be good at uniquely, but it makes alignment a lot easier for us, of course. Yeah. Like our territories are, Jen has a new territory. Okay, that's my new territory. Yeah. We can just align across that. Or this is where Enterprise West needs help in this particular part of the value chain. Like they need more delivery resources. Okay, we need to invest in that. Or hey, pipeline is soft in Phoenix market. Yeah. Like let's go help you create pipeline and opportunities with our existing customer base, with new customers, and you can kind of direct us in that way. But from the standpoint of the joint pursuit or the joint account management, whatever you want to call it, we always look at it from the lens of the best customer experience. Yeah. And I think in the moments when we are truly behaving like one team, by far creates the best customer experience.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's why, planning is super important. Again, as we get to 2020, which isn't that, it's scarily close now. One of the things I hold my teams accountable for is, I mentioned inclusivity earlier, like being very, very inclusive, not only of our, Jay Mason's team in the West region and those partner teams, but also their partners as well in that process. So it's not just a Google planning process, it's inclusive where we can. It's difficult sometimes, obviously, if there's multiple partners, but again, kind of opening up our conversations and dialogue so that we can be planful for the future and that we can agree on strategy. Yeah. I don't want us just to be in reactive mode, because then what happens is partners get brought in too late in the process. Totally. It's hard for them to have an impact. And again, it doesn't lead to what could have been a much better customer experience.
No, I think, look, there's a lot of partners, and I think Brian and Jeff actually feel this way, especially Brian is like, look, I got a lot of partners who are good order takers.
Right. Yeah.
Like I need this many people that know this technology, bring them in now, after the sale is made. Yeah. It's like, and we'll be good at that, and we'll partner with PSO closely and with great relationships there, and that investment's going to grow because I think that's a great engagement model. Customers want Google to sort of front end, especially the first set of engagements, and we'll be partners with PSO there. But it's like we have to do more than that. Yeah, we have to go together, add value to your pursuits, and there's areas that your reps actually haven't done yet, or haven't. Absolutely. They don't have the Maps experience or the G Suite experience, or who knows.
Well, the work that you guys have done on Anthos already,
or Anthos experience. We can deliver box. You heard it from Sam directly today from the office of the CTO. I was like, nobody's delivering boxes. So yeah.
And you guys also, you're hiring incredibly talented and diverse people in your leadership and also across your regions as well.
That's very important to us too. To your point earlier, we want to garner the respect of the people we're working with in the field that work at Google. So we have to deliver people of that caliber. But also for customers, they shouldn't really feel a technical difference. That's between is this a SADA engineer or a Google engineer? Is this a SADA seller or a Google seller? Yeah. I think the best experiences are when we combine forces. There's a Google badge in the room, there's a partners in the room, there's partner leadership, Google leadership for sure. But there shouldn't be when the partner shows up, it's the B team. Nobody wants to feel that.
Totally agree. And that's not the way it should be. And it's also great to see, when people will go from Google to SADA. Yeah. So Scott Jensen just blew me away. Goodness, that man has got a brain the size of a flipping planet.
He's so smart.
Wicked smart. I was sitting there thinking, all right, I got at least 6 customers I would love for you to just go and meet. Because that's the other thing, helping extend our leadership. Yeah. That's right. From a customer perspective. Mapping our executives in the right place, and ultimately dividing and conquering as well.
I love it when people come on board either from Google or Chason ecosystems, and we have that kind of reaction. But then, we like to be put to use in areas you describe, not because we maybe know all the stuff that Google doesn't know. I think that's gonna even out at some point from an experiential point of view. But Well, we can say and do things Google like can't say and do.
Yeah, and there's always we need you to do that.
Yeah, we like to be the one that can say the things.
You can go rogue.
A little bit. We've known to go, but all for the greater good, though.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's awesome. Well, look, I'm super excited about 2020. Talk about feeling like one team. When I heard from Rob Enslin that we were invited to your sales kickoff,
Accelerate. That's right.
That's never happened before.
And I didn't realize that until we talked about it earlier. I just assumed that was just the model, that we had our key partners. So I didn't realize that this would be the first year.
We always had rogue side events.
I heard about the parties. I definitely heard about
the
some
only
of the
way for us to get in front of yourself was just have a rogue event. But to be formally invited,
kick-ass parties is what I heard.
Yeah, I would like to work hard, play hard.
But I think it's great. I think it's a testament to where we're taking the business. It's a testament to how TK thinks about the business and the organization. And I think it's testament to the commitment we have to our partners and that you have to us. We want to be accessible. It shouldn't be hard to build and create these relationships.
Well, look, leadership hasn't always been that way. And I really want to commend you for your just genuine approach and attitude towards us as partners. Like, I feel like we work for the same company when we're communicating. And that's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. You're always responsive to me. I'm always responsive to you. We're one team. And I think you're leading by example in a very positive fashion. And all your lieutenants and people in the field are sort of cut from that same cloth. Yeah. And that's all we want to be. We want to be considered an extension of you. Yeah. Like, we kind of work for you. Mm-hmm. And we're in it for the greater good of the customer. Yeah. And as long as we have that orientation, I think we'll continue to grow and expand and win and have a lot of fun doing it. I was about to say that the one thing that's been consistent, certainly in the last 4 months, in all of our discussions and meetings is we know how to have fun and our teams know how to have fun. And I think we have to, again, this isn't life or death stuff. Yeah. So it's important to keep ourselves grounded. And we're playing the long game. Yeah, absolutely. We're all playing a long game. We have to remember how fortunate we are to be in this position. Yeah. To have the opportunity in the next 10 or 20 years to completely redefine the industry together. Yeah. I mean, how fortunate are we to be even sitting here? You know what? It's crazy. I told a story the other day. There was a point in time where I would never, ever, ever going to be able to work at Google because I don't have a college degree. And Google used to have that rule. No way. A few years back. Yeah, Google used to have a rule that you had to have not only a college degree, Ivy League. Of course, I remember that. Top 40 school, all that stuff. Yeah. Which is ridiculous, of course, especially in enterprise sales. Yeah. And so it's funny, my dad was just visiting and we decided to sit down and watch some movies. And so we watched the movie The Internship. Oh, yeah. Which I think I remember seeing like years and years and years ago. But my dad, I've been educating him on everything Google. Like, this is the best way I was trying to describe Sunnyvale. And because I took him to the Kirkland campus and he was blown away. Yeah. So we watched that movie and it was hilarious. But I said that to Dad. I'm like, Dad, a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to join this company. And here I am, and I'm here for the long game. Thank you for being on Cloud and Clear. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @CloudandClear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.